Hey y'all, I'm back again and I hope y'all missed me from the first video. Today we're going to be talking about why do I keep moving from city to city. I'm always somewhere new. So today we're really going to get into it. Why I keep moving from city to city, what do I feel like I've learned, and what do I feel like I've gained from doing so. So let's just hop straight into it. So the first things first is that I have lived in multiple different states in cities since I've turned 18 years old. When I was 18, I went to Nashville, Tennessee to go to college. I went to Tennessee State University. Shout out to Tennessee State. I went to school for a little while before life just kind of hit, kind of for all of us. COVID hit and things just kind of took a turn from there. One second. So I came back to Atlanta for COVID, as most of us did from school. Once I got back for COVID, I worked. I moved out of my parents' house. Then I moved back to Nashville, Tennessee when they opened school back up after about a good 8 months. Y'all, I wasn't even going to school. I was just staying with my homegirls at the campus while I was working every day. They was in school, but I was working every day. So I went back to live in Nashville, Tennessee and work. I ended up being in the hospital for about a week and a half and I was in the ICU. At this point, I'm 19 years old. I was in the hospital the week of Easter after being back in Nashville from COVID. From there, the hospital wouldn't release me unless I was under someone's care. I had to literally pack my stuff back up. Mind y'all, I moved out of my house like almost a year prior to that. So I had to move back home to Atlanta where I had lived at for the second half of my childhood. I came back and at first, things were okay. I was used to working, so as soon as I kind of got better, I tried to hop back into working, but me and my parents, we kind of got into it. We couldn't really get on one accord, so I ended up getting a job. They didn't want me to get a job. They wanted me to do hair because I've been doing hair since I was in third grade. Like, I don't mean like, oh, she been doing, no, like I really had clients in elementary school. They wanted me to do hair because that's what they felt like. They were both entrepreneurs. They felt like I needed to be an entrepreneur. So I was back in Atlanta, and I decided that I was going to trust them to an extent, although I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And so I went ahead and I did hair, y'all. I quit my job, opened up a hair salon, and I did that for almost a year, give or take. And right when I decided to leave my hair salon, by this point, I'm 20, I believe. Was I 20? Something like that. I left my hair salon around October-ish. I left to go back to Nashville to visit for a Tennessee State homecoming. And I'll never forget, it was this guy that I saw and I did not want to talk to him. Like, oh, anyway, so he tried to talk to me and I ignored him for a few days because I was down in Tennessee for about a week and a half, y'all. Because remember, I don't live in Nashville, but I still got so many ties to Nashville because I went to school here. I've lived here now at 18, at 19. My friends, my main group of friends who I hang out with at home and at school, they up at school. So, and when I at the airport to come back home, I'll never forget. Somebody was calling me from an unknown number, and I end up answering the phone, and he just got to cracking jokes on the phone instantly. And when he got the cracking jokes, y'all, we hit it off. When we hit it off, I end up asking him, like, where do you live at? Because I'm thinking he live in Tennessee or somewhere. I don't know. It's homecoming. It's so many fine sheets. Like, I don't know where he from. And why do we come to find out, y'all, him and his friend, they roommates. And they live 5 minutes down the street from me. This is when I stayed still in Atlanta, y'all. That was a coincidence. We end up hitting it off. We end up dating very, very quickly, y'all. We had got into it one day and I just like, I'm leaving. So when I leave, he like, you got to chill. He was like, because I might not be here no more. He like, I just found out I got a warrant. I'm not a trench baby, but I'm close to it. So when he tells me that, I'm like, well, you need to get your money up, like, so that you can pay off whatever these fees is. Because that was from years back. So I'm like, you need to go back to Nashville and just stay down, keep your head down. And so we done dated for about 3 months. Then that's when we found out about the warrant. So after he found out about the warrant, he ended up going down there. And at that time, I was still staying back at home But literally something had popped off at home, y'all. And my stepdad was basically like, you can't come back type thing. So when he told me I couldn't come back, it wasn't like I didn't have no options. I was able to go back to my other childhood home. But about a week into him being up in Nashville, I find this information out that my homegirls got into it. And I always was kind of wiser than my friends in a sense. So they would always call me when shit would happen. So they called me to tell me what's going on. And literally, like, they get to fighting, y'all, like physically fighting. And we had, three of us had planned to get an apartment together come the end of, by the next fall, upcoming fall semester at minimal, or by the summertime, we should have an apartment together. So even though I was in Atlanta, we all had that in our minds, like, we gonna work, stack our money up so we can get an apartment together. It's around January, and one of my friends' birthday at the end of January. I always go up to Nashville for her birthday. Everything ended up falling apart, and the friendship ended up falling apart. And I was kind of left with one friend. And at one point, it was a group of us. But then at the end, it was just me and one of the friends. With everything going on, plans going to shit on all ends, I'm like, let me just move up to Nashville. So I didn't really plan to get back in school. Literally just plan to work and get an apartment. I'm up in this state, call myself staying with my homegirl. She ended up getting kicked off campus because of so much that went on. And I end up just thugging it, y'all. Because I end up leaving from Nashville with my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, boyfriend at the time. We end up going to another part of Tennessee that I can't even remember where we was at. Like, I mean, he ended up getting his taxes, so we end up riding back Georgia so that he could get his taxes. On the way back from Atlanta, we literally was at the borderline of Georgia and Tennessee. They literally pulled us over and we both got locked up. I didn't know I had a warrant out for my arrest, but I knew that if my stepdad had pressed charges on me, I knew I was going to have one. So y'all, now we're back in Atlanta, like, again. We literally just decided, like, this shit dead. We cannot be in Nashville no more. Like, it just was dead. After that was all said and done, me and him ended up leaving and going down to Savannah, Georgia. So now I got two places on my list. I got Nashville and I got Savannah, Georgia. At this point, I hadn't learned nothing yet. All I really had learned was get the heck on when something happens. Okay, boom. So the reason why we ended up going down to Savannah was because his brother, honestly, we wanted to stay together so bad. But if I'm being 100% honest, I wanted to stay with him so bad. Like, and he really didn't fight it. Like, he might be like, I don't want you to have to go through what I'm going through. But I didn't give a damn. Like, I didn't give a care in the world. Like, I'm like, if you going through it, I'm going through it. Y'all, that's the first sign right there that you might be a little delusional. Brother's like, you need to come down to Savannah because I got an apartment. I can help you get a job. So he called his brother and was like, I'm not coming unless she come. And his brother's like, okay. So we both went down to Savannah. It was very peaceful, very serene, but we are young adults in a relationship trying to navigate finances, life, trusting each other, things like that. And y'all, I just, at that time, I literally, this brain of mine, it had developed fully. You can't blame me. No matter where I went, I was going to get me a serving job. I was going to make cash money and I was going to save my money. And that's exactly what I did. Y'all, why did my ex-boyfriend end up getting into it with his brother? He ended up getting locked up because his brother ended up calling the police on him. When he ended up getting locked up, I ended up having to call people outside of Savannah to, help out. So I ended up talking to his best friend at the time, and he was just like, y'all need to come up here to Nashville. He was like, I got a spot. He was like, y'all can just stay here, get a job, work, and just stay up here type thing. Y'all, so when I got him out of jail, we literally packed up, got his car, and moved to Nashville. So now we done lived in Nashville, Savannah, and we back in Nashville. So this time when we moved to Nashville, I'm like, my hustle is at an all time, y'all. Like, I've always been a worker bee, but like now I'm really lit. So we get up to Nashville and we stay with his friend for literally no more than 60 days. He got a job, I got a job. Within 30, 60 days, we moved out. And we just off of it being simple, we end up getting an apartment in the same complex that he had an apartment in. His friend had an apartment in. Me and him end up breaking up. That's a whole nother story. We end up breaking up. Like, it was traumatized. I end up moving out of the house. When I moved out of the house, I end up going between a roommate that I stayed with and being at my homegirl house. Y'all, I'm literally 21 at this point. And I had held on for so long because I remember moving out of the apartment in December. My birthday passing in January. I was doing good because I had a new job. And when me and him broke up, I ended up getting me a new car. Like right when the spring hit, I ended up feeling called to leave Tennessee. And I didn't want to leave, y'all, because I had planned on going from Tennessee to Texas. Like Texas had been on my radar since I was like, at this point I'm 21, but Texas had been on my radar since I was like 18, because that was another thing I skipped out on. When me and my ex-boyfriend lived in Savannah, we planned to move to Texas. We never planned to move to Nashville. We planned to move to Texas. So I was trying to save money after I got my car to go to Texas. And the Most High was just putting it on my spirit to go back to Georgia. For the first time, y'all, I prayed. Like, I'm getting all these signs to come back and to Georgia, and I don't want to. Like, I don't want to. I was like, but if you want me to come, if you want me to go, I will go. Send me a sign that I cannot ignore. And as soon as I walked in the door, when I was still living in Tennessee, I walked in the door. My roommate just looked at me, and I never forget, she just started talking. And she was like, you didn't do anything wrong. She was like, I'm just ready to be by myself again. She started shedding tears because I knew she didn't know where the feeling was coming from of her just ready for me to go so bad all of a sudden one day. And y'all, mind y'all, I said the prayer when I pulled up to the house in the car before I got out the car to go inside the house. So as soon as I got in the house, she literally just said this. She was like, we need to talk. And she said this. And she had to catch me because that's how much I wasn't at the house. I actually just said a prayer before I came in here because I felt like it was time for me to go. I was like, so yeah, like, I'm gonna just go because I felt like it was time for me to go. And I ended up coming back to Georgia, and that was the beginning of my surrender for real. Like, I had, mind y'all, this is close to the spring, so when I moved out of my apartment, I was already beginning to have a spiritual awakening around October. Moved out of my apartment in December. By the time this came around, I was used to praying and kind of meditating every day because after I got my car, I had quit my job. I was still making money because I was doing Instacart, but I really didn't know how life was going to go for me. From the time I moved out of my apartment until this point in time when me and my roommate was having this conversation, the Most High was teaching me how to truly surrender. I drove my car back because remember I had bought a car, so I drove my car back. It was a challenge when I first got here, I'm not going to lie. Me and one of my sisters got into it. She locked me out the house when I first got there. I'm talking about when I pulled in the driveway, she locked me out the house. When I first got there, she lied about it to our family, like tried to make it seem like I was crazy. So I slept in my car for the first few days that I came back because I just really already didn't want to be here, but I had just told the Most High I would come and I would surrender. That's what the Most High wanted me to do, and so I did that. So I don't know why it's making me feel emotional. Woo! After I was in my car for a little while, my other sister that lived in the house, my sister that raised me, she was like, you need to come back. You don't need to be outside. So I ended up coming to the house after a few days, and I really didn't want to, but I knew that I have to find some way to be comfortable because if I do go back, I'll be being disobedient, and I didn't want to be disobedient. So I was like, it's uncomfortable, but I'll stay. Me and all my sisters all had our own things going on in life, which was why we mutually were all back in our childhood home together. But it wasn't the easiest journey, but I was grateful because it truly gave me time to just love on myself, get back into making content, get back into doing my hair, and things were just good. I was connected with the Most High. I was just a vessel. I felt pure. I felt good. Like, things were not easy at all, but I felt good. I remember my brother bringing up going to school to me. And I had already made up in my mind because of all that I had been through from 18 to 21, y'all. I'm about to be 22 now. From 18 to 21, I had made up in my mind, like, I'm not going back to school. Like, it's no need. Like, really, I will never forget, after me and him had that conversation, I was so concerned with pleasing the Most High that even though I did not want to go back to school, literally prayed. And I said, Most High, if you want me to go back to school, have him to call me back and to bring it up again. Never forget, y'all. I hadn't talked to my biological dad in like 2 years. He called me back with my dad on the phone. My dad had went and bought a house down in Fort Valley. My dad is from Atlanta, Georgia. And my dad was just like, hey, I'm trying to turn my house into student housing that I purchased down here in Fort Valley. That's why he claimed he bought it. So he was like, I want you to come down here because Christian told me you was thinking about going back to school. Y'all, I prayed about it and I just took that as a sign, the callback that I needed to go back down there and go to school. End up leaving to go down to Fort Valley to go to school and living in the house that my dad owned down there. My dad's in the military, so you don't got to worry about nothing when you staying with him, literally. So he was like, don't worry about working, just come down here for focus on school. You know, you ain't got to worry about nothing. I'm like, okay, cool. Now my dad is cool for Cocoa Puffs, but I'm like, Most High, if you want me to go down there, I'm gonna go down there, because my other brother was still going to school as well, so he was still living down there too with my dad. So it just all worked out. It was okay for a time. It really was. The Most High had me doing a lot of spiritual work within myself to learn things about myself, but also a lot of spiritual work to recognize people in the spirits that they walk with, good or bad. At this point, I hadn't really acknowledged my gifts constantly, even when I was staying with my sisters, being met with just prophecies and things that would happen that I would speak on. It would take my family 8-9 months to come around to. Like, I literally would just be like, I was getting resentful. Like, it was getting bad. I was getting very resentful. So by the time I ended up going down here to live with my dad, things were okay for a minute, but once they started getting kind of like iffy, it was because I was recognizing so many things, dark things that were happening. And as someone who is a feeler, who is a healer, who is a seer, I'm not trying to feel and heal you, but I am actively feeling everything that's going on. And that became spiritually, physically, and emotionally extremely overwhelming for me. And I thugged it out for as long as I could. I made it through a birthday up there and a whole spring semester. Like, after a while, I'll never forget, an extreme situation happened, y'all, that I won't speak on right now. And I end up having to go back, or not having to, but deciding that I was going to flee. Because mind y'all, my dad is crazy. So I end up deciding I'm going to flee and I'm going to go back to Georgia. But this time I had to move strategically. Like, I wasn't just, willy-nilly leaving. I'm sneaking and leaving. So I end up leaving Fort Valley and I end up coming back to Atlanta. I got so fed up within like the first few days of being here. I was only here for like, y'all, maybe 3-4 days. And I'll never forget, I'm like, I didn't feel safe in Fort Valley, but at least I had a room. I was thinking to myself, I'm finna go back up there. I was at my brother's house that day when I was like, I'm just finna leave Atlanta and go back to Fort Valley. I pulled out of my brother's apartment complex the day that I said that. I left out of his apartment complex, and literally, like, I got pulled over that day and got my car impounded. Literally. If that ain't a sign, I don't know what is. I knew in my spirit I wasn't supposed to be going back to Fort Valley, but remember, y'all, I told y'all when I was living in Nashville, I came back out of pure obedience, but I remember how uncomfortable I was for a little while. I just felt like I'm finna be so uncomfortable again because I just seen how things was going with the few days I was here, and I'm like, Most High, you keep calling me to do all these things, but I'm uncomfortable, and I'm just like, I just felt like I couldn't do it. So when I lost my car, y'all, I got resentful quick because I'm like, all right, I know that that's just because, like, you, the Most High is like, if you're not going to listen, I'm going to make you listen, but I still was upset. And at that point, I just ended up going to stay with my stepdad. Like, that's how I ended up going to stay with him, because at that point, I didn't have my car. I went there in the spring, stayed through the summer, stayed through the fall. I ended up getting a job around October. I ended up getting fired from that job after like 3 weeks. I met a friend at the job and we hit it off instantly. So from day one, we were just dumb cool. She ended up getting this job on the road and she was like, if you want to come work this job on the road with me, you can. And I said, yeah, I'll come work the job on the road with you, because I was just trying to work so I can get enough money to get a car. We end up going on the road together, and I'll never forget when we was riding up to Detroit, because that's where we was stationed at. I ended up telling her, like, I'm just trying to save enough money after I get this cash car to move to Texas. And she was just like, I was thinking about having a new start too. And I was like, well, you can come up there with me. I was like, we can get an apartment together. I was like, or we can just both get apartments and go up there together. But I was like, you know, you can come when I come, or whatever the case may be. So she was like, you know, I think I'll do that. We ended up working a job up in Detroit. She ended up getting fired from the job. And I ended up leaving the job because she ended up getting fired within like 2 to 3 weeks of being there. And we both ended up coming back home. When we came back home, my stepdad had ended up getting locked up for the weekend, and his girlfriend ended up locking me out of the house. I took that as my sign, and I just left. So from there, I left, went to go stay with my auntie for a little while because I was just thugging it because I knew I was going to leave anyways and go to Texas. I ended up calling myself getting a new job, y'all. When I pulled up to the job, they basically told me, like, you late for the job. Because we were supposed to be there 30 minutes early, and I didn't know. If you know anything about UPS, you're supposed to be there 30 minutes before the start time for orientation. I didn't know that. So, basically, they had sent me home. Yeah, and I was like, Most High, if you don't want me to work, like, I just want work. I'm just trying to get my life together. So, you know, I'm just working because I feel like this is what I need to do. Some just told me to call the military that day. Well, that's Veteran Affairs. Called them that day. I called them. Y'all, why they tell me I had an $8,800 check on back pay? 9 bands? Y'all, every time I said a prayer, it's like, it wasn't miracles like that coming through, but the answers would come. Y'all, they mailed me the check. I bought a cash car. Spent the rest of the money paying off some tickets so I didn't have no warrants when I moved to Texas because I wanted a fresh start. I ended up just paying a few things off, and I ended up moving to Texas. Now, I didn't plan to go to Texas so soon, but when me and my homegirl got fired, she literally rushed and got an apartment before me. Like, literally, like, she ain't never talked about moving to Texas. Shawty rushed and got an apartment before me in Texas. So by the time I had bought my car and stuff, she was like, you know, where you at, twin? I need you. And when she said, I need you, I'm thinking like, we need to hustle together because that's what I was used to. So I'm like, I'm coming down there. Like, I got my car, whatever the case may be. Sorry. I talked about this in my first video, but when I moved to Texas, I had a brand new car. I ended up losing that car in 3 weeks flat. So I'm staying with my homegirl. She hadn't become weird yet, but I'm staying with her. But she not there because she ended up finding another job working on the road. Ended up staying with her for a few months. That was weird. A lot of things happened in that time. I almost gave up, y'all. When I say I almost gave up, I almost gave up. Many of times, but this time it was just crazy. And basically, like, but provisions were made for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I used to catch the bus to try to go to job interviews, get jobs, job hunt, get apartment. Y'all, none of that was working out for me. Like, nothing. I couldn't get an apartment. And at that point, I had the money for an apartment, but I could not get approved for an apartment due to staying with my boyfriend in Tennessee. So I couldn't get approved for an apartment. So I literally didn't have no choice but to just go stay with roommates, y'all. And I was, once again, resentful and frustrated because it's like I have the money, but I still can't get an apartment. Y'all, I'm so glad that I didn't get approved for an apartment because when I moved from my home girl to my own spot in the past split, things got consistent. Things got safe for me. But I'm talking about when I say I live like the most boring life, I literally went to the gym on the bus, went to the library, and went home. I had enough to pay my bills, but that was it. Pay my bills, get groceries, and cook, go to the gym, pay my gym membership. That's all I had enough for. One day, I was walking, making a video, and I ended up just going viral on Instagram. The Most High worked so miraculously. So I ended up getting back pay from my school, and I ended up still getting paid from the military. Y'all, I end up having like hella money. Once I ended up going viral, I wasn't stopping. Like, I kept going viral. And anybody that know me know I'm a creative, and I had always been into like making content, making short films, things like that. Before I started really learning life, like that was my interest. But my brother and somebody else that was significant at the time was like, you need to go to California, because my brother lived in California and he worked in California. I told him, like, you know, I'm gonna come up there, and if I like it, I might even get my own spot up there. Y'all, literally, I went up to California. I was supposed to be up there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks ended up turning into 2 months. In that time, I ended up making content, which was my plan. I ended up having an amazing time, which was my plan. Also traveling to Phoenix. By the time the 2 months had ended, when I was in Phoenix, me and my brother, we ended up getting into it. I'm good for getting the hell on and not returning. So I end up literally like stop talking to him, and I told him like, you don't got to worry about me. I'm gonna be when we get back to California. I'll be gone from your house in 2 days. I had planned to get like a little roommate situation because I had the money to do so. What was stopping me was I just felt in my spirit that I needed to come back to Atlanta and I knew I needed to come back, but I didn't know for how long. But I kept feeling in my spirit like, you need to come back for a little while. You need to come back for a little while. Also, too, if I'm being 100% honest, I was kind of scared anyways to take that step and really be in California because it was going to require a lot of faith for me and a lot of trusting and being obedient and having a sensitive ear to whatever the Most High asks of me. Because if you know, California is expensive. And it didn't scare me away fully, but it scared me a little bit. So when I was feeling in my spirit that I needed to come to Atlanta, one of my closest friends at the time was already pregnant, finna have my godchild in a couple of months. And then my sister at the time, one of my sisters was going through breast cancer. So I'm just like, it makes sense. And yeah, so I end up coming back to California. I ended up coming back from California after being there for 2 months. And that was a great time. I needed it for my nervous system. Like, it was different and I needed that. And I'm so grateful for that time. So when I end up coming back, I've been here ever since. I got here in August, and I've been here from August until now. We on April 1 today. When I first started, like, just the journey of moving around and just being different places and leaving every time something went wrong, I struggled a lot with anger. Like I told y'all, I was literally facing legal things because me and my stepdad didn't just get into it. I flipped on him because I felt played. And every time I felt played, like, I always had to show somebody. The journey really forced me to see myself. I didn't always like what I saw, and I felt like the easiest way for me to work on myself and also take care of myself was to be by myself. And so I found myself on a journey of continuously isolating myself, continuously. A lot of times I did feel like I was being obedient, but even then, I had so much disobedience in my so-called obedience. And the hardest thing about this all has been watching myself change and grow, think I want something, watch it be taken away from me, or watching it dissipate and realizing it wasn't really what I wanted, and I want something, but I gotta figure out what that is. So in the meanwhile, it's just me. If I'm being honest, y'all, I just went off on some folks the other day for lying on me. When I went off, I realized like, I still had anger inside of me. I almost got resentful with myself again because I realized I still feel like I'm in spaces and places I don't want to be. And having that resentment all this time, I picked up so many bad habits that I almost feel like all the work and all the sacrifices that I feel like I made being obedient have been in vain. I don't know what all of this was for. Like, I still don't know. I done been up, I done been down, I done been up, I done been down. I've learned to see myself. I've learned to accept myself. I've learned to love myself. And more than anything, I've learned to be grateful for being sat down, being turned around, obstacles, because as many times y'all have heard me go from here to there, from here to there, from here to there, I'm in the hospital for the ICU, I started business right after that, I do this, I do that. Y'all, I could have been gone. Y'all don't even know what I was in the hospital for. I could have been gone. And I even got resentful for still being here many a times. But the Most High speaking to me over these years and just ordering my steps is what gave me hope that life is worth living. But then when things didn't pan out the way I thought they would after so many years, I felt like, well, have I even been listening to the Most High? Have I been listening to myself? Like, what's been going on? Learning to have an obligation to myself first, obedience first, trusting my spirit first, and allowing everything else to fall into place is something that really, even now, I'm still learning. It's been so many moments where I realized like it couldn't have happened any other way. For the first time ever, starting over again, truly at peace with, or at least I feel like I am, with being slowed down. Whatever it is the Most High has for me, I don't want to miss it. I feel like running away for so long, I almost missed it, and I don't want to miss anything that the Most High has for me. So I've learned to take my lessons as they come. I've learned to be grateful for the people in the relationships that you're blessed with, even if it's for a small time. I had to learn how to be a good steward of my relationships. Like, I was so used to dismissing myself. I was so used to, oh, you can't accept me, I'm gone. That I had become a terrible steward of my relationships, a terrible steward of my friendships, and a terrible steward of my family ships. The Most High has really taught me how to be a better steward of people and things, people and relationships, because you truly don't know when it'll be over, or when the time will be severed, or when you may not see them again for a long time, or when you'll be called to move on to the next thing. I'm in a space to receive, and not just tangible, even though we want the tangible, but I'm in a space to receive my completeness. I'm allowing the Most High to show me really like what all of this was for, and to really show me how to love, forgive, let go, how to let go of things, how to let go of people, how to let go of heartache, how to let go of, I'll go to the next place and still be having resentment and fear from the previous experience. And it was like, if I didn't go from space to place to state to state to state, I would still be staying in Atlanta scared, making decisions out of fear, being with my stepdad out of fear. I might have withered away. I'm learning and I'm growing. And this is why I was been moving around. This is the beginning of what I've learned, but I'm sure a lot more will come to me over time. I just wanted to freestyle this video. As this 30 days progress, we will all see firsthand. I'll be able to articulate better, truly, what all of this means. This is Nina B talking. This is 30 days of posting every day from April 1st starting today. So this will be the second video that's up when y'all see this. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that it got dark towards the end, but I still pray that y'all was able to see decently. Y'all so much. The Most High loves you. And if you too are learning or trying to figure out how to be obedient, how to be okay with how far you've come and where you're going, whether you know where you're going or not, this is the place for you. Get comfortable. This is exactly what you've been looking for, boo. Y'all be blessed. And I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.